purplish steam rises from the head of the fallen giant. When it fell, it rolled. It landed on a certain chin angle that not important. Now, however, because it landed... Oh, crap, it was important. It rolled toward the swamp, toward the frost swamp, and that catalyzed some chemical reaction. Ergo, purple steam. And look, we don't know what chemicals giants are made of. We're a primitive people. I, having fallen into the time rapids, now have a bird's eye view of humanity, its history, its future, and its body of knowledge. The first thing I did once I slipped free of my temporal moorings was I went to a high school and visited, I audited the classes, that's the word, audited, and nobody ever picked up on the fact that I didn't belong, and was an 11th century peasant smelling of human rot because the hygiene scene hadn't really taken off yet. Soapcore music didn't even debut until the mid-13th century. One dizzy butcher accidentally invented oily, fatty guitars, musical innovation proliferated, and then one day a guy named Filthmonger Darbus, spelled with the filthmonger, formed the first ever band. Up until then, the only music had come from solo acts with lutes at the local mead hall, improvising ballads to made-up knights fighting made-up villains. There once was a legend named Bimswong, the glaive haver. He had an enemy named Shave Lather. And, like, the singer's got a small nick on his chin. The song's clearly about how he cut himself shaving that morning. His name was Bimswong, too. It adds up. But then they noticed, it seems like every few concerts, Filthmonger's using a different one of these oil blob string instruments, because they kept sudsing away mid-show. All the kids wanted to be like him, so they made their own. It was real cheap to do. Ipso facto, they oopsie-doopsied themselves into bathing. And then these kids from the soapcore scene were getting a lot less of the death fungus that we thought at the time. It just sort of showed up. One of those, you need to bleed an anteater and then draw a picture of a frowny face with a thermometer in its eyeball on your door, and the angel of fungus will pass your household by. But it's a different animal and bonkers emoji every week. They had a special fortune teller just for that, who would sit there effing around on her phone all day until divine inspiration struck. Oh, next time it's going to be a picture of a human hand with a beak in the palm eating a hoagie. I don't know what animal yet, stay tuned. Well, even if she figured out in time, it's going to be worms, we don't know if worms technically have blood. You might need to get like a bunch of these, break out the mortar and pestle. You had to be artistically adept with fluids in order to get that one right. You go to bed thinking you did a good job, wake up covered in death fungus and say, I did a bad job. Fast forward to me in a 21st century high school. Everybody is doing a strange dance. They just sort of pivot their elbow about and murmur the word houseboat. It's like, houseboat. Houseboat. This is what's cool now. Thank God I was born in the year 1036. Things were a lot better then. Give me the death fungus over houseboat any friggin' day. With that said, however, this did all give me insights into certain chemical processes. So, with this giant head putting out purple steam by the frost swamp, I think the moment's arrived for me to slip even further into the future. God help me, I hope there's something cooler than houseboat going on. I miss soapcore. These kids today have no love for the classics. They aren't sudsy fresh like filthmonger Darbus. They spend all their parents' gift cards on a subscription to the mall. Every month, one random item from each store. Wind up with a beret and a goat statue with a porcelain joint in its mouth, and you're like, well, I guess I can put the hat on the goat. And you do, and the goat says, "Thank you." You say, "I thought I was real and you weren't." And the goat says, "Hysterical. Come with me." Uses its new hat to snip the stitches holding reality's flesh together, and you're like, "Why is that there?" Goat says, "Trust me that the answer to that will be part of this. Follow, follow." So, the statue runs through the incision, you sigh heavily, and then follow, follow. Find yourself shrunken into a theatrical enclosure. Clearly a cocoon, there is a caterpillar inside with fibrous growths jutting out of its back that you know will one day form breathtaking wings, but right now the body horror of it all turns your stomach into a bile hose. Cronenberg would tell this bug to cool it, to chill its beverages in the blank water hole. Why is it so anticipatory? It knows the water starts splashing moments before you put things in it. Down below the surface, hidden underneath the layer of food coloring and diamond dust, there's a fish-headed man doing the houseboat dance and waiting to punk you when you come by. Magics allow both him and us to transpond, to communicate, hit the dial on the apex of the tall ham radio, and then say, into the volcano hole, "Echo, echo, this is Prince Darn." Copy? And then, from within the magma, a separate dolphin-based soup molecule hovers thither and bashes off the rocks within so quickly and with such precision that the smacking noises emulate human speech and say, "This is Echo. Prince Darn is no more. The Princess Darn has been bucket launched." And then you lean back into the hole and say, "Echo, echo, what is bucket launching?" And then clang, 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 echo, echo. Bucket launching is when you lock somebody inside a bucket and then use a plunger and a baster in tandem as a mega suction cup to force them within the metal, and then you twirl the bucket handle on your forearm and then flip the handle latch so that it unlatches, and then the bucket goes extra far because there's a hidden genius that lives inside some of the space stitches, and he flicks things when they fall by surprise. Over and out. You just scream into the hole, "Echo, echo! Echo, echo!" There's no answer. What there is a splashing sound, and then a funnel, a wide funnel that stays wide. It's a tube. There's a pipe leading between moments. The severed giant head and the magma become as one through an inextricable acausal linkage. A union of two events linked by stuff we can't see, and even in the 21st century, you know what? I'm gonna have to go ahead in time. Probably for the best, because the new trend right now is you tap the tip of your nose and go, "Honey, honey, won't you let me rent flowers?" Over and over again. I mean, it's better than houseboat. So I move forward, 24th century, no, 25th, 27th. Now they've got it figured out. Now they know that our universe is actually a Frankenstein of different broken univi. Every universe eventually gets the cosmic death fungus because they don't have space soap and they're bad at painting emoji with animal blood. Galaxies can't play the guitar, even if you teach them and give them the proper level of both angst and bravado. They're never gonna replicate the successes of the burnouts and the horse jocks who used to lift huge bales of hay high over their heads 47 times per hour until their shoulders ruptured and spewed forth a crustacean-esque aroma. This is how you knew who all the truly viable mates were. If their shoulders don't stink of clams, how could you possibly want them? Well, life used to be a lot simpler than that. Used to be, you lived in a village of about 35 people, and instead of saying, who out of these several billion humans would be my perfect bedmate, you'd look down the road and go, hey, I see a woman of approximately my age, and she is by default the most beautiful person I've ever seen. I'm gonna go check if our personalities mesh, by which I mean make sure she doesn't bite me and give me rabies, and as long as we're cool on that front, we're soulmates. Now, is that better? Judgment call. But after a lifetime of nose-tapping houseboats led me to learn that what we think of as God is just a mad scientist made not out of matter but of plasma that has converted itself into energy in a giant centrifuge made of spider webs in the year 9,045,000,045, well, I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to sit back down in my physical body, watch this severed giant head boil away, and try my best to forget about Princess Darn and the dolphin soup and all the nightmares that life turns into when you learn too many facts. Just look down the road, spy a buxom lass, and say, oh my god, it's love at first sight. Head over and say, hey, what's your name? And she says, I'm Matilda. Who are you? And I'm like, I don't even effing know anymore. Do you bite? And she says, intermittently. And I say, like everything else close enough, let's smooch. And then she says, oh, give me 1 second to get ready, reaches up inside of her mouth and unlatches something, and then her top lip swings free. And for a second I move to catch it, but I can't, because the hidden scamp boy I learned about in association with bucket launching flicks it and it goes extra far. She freaks out. She says, oh no, my post-death fungus lip prosthesis. What the hell happened? And I'm like, well, actually what happened is, and then I stop myself. Because the question now is, do I want to burden another human soul with the knowledge that has cursed me? And I find my answer pretty quickly. I say, actually, I have no friggin' idea. But you look just as pretty without the lip. Let's smooch anyway.